Hey, everybody, welcome into Monday Domains. I'm just inviting a few friends, sending out some chats. Sorry for missing everybody last week. I couldn't get my phone to work. And of course, I will blame the phone. And most of us know that it was probably operator error. Let's see. There we go. Mike, you are officially the first one in the chat. Finally, Clubhouse is matching what we've been doing on the Domain Show live room for 14 months. That's okay. They'll catch up. Let's see. I'm trying to invite some folks to the room, and I don't have that option anymore. Let's see. I don't have the option to invite people to the room. That's kind of an important option. You know what I do have?
You do have the option page.
I do?
Yes, so you click on the middle one, and then click down to the bottom, invite people.
What's the middle one?
In the middle, you've got the chat button on the left, and then in the middle, you've got the box with the arrow pointing up.
What's that one? Oh, that's the share. Okay. Oh, there we go.
And then invite people at the bottom.
Ah, it's a subset of that. Look at you, Sam.
Yeah,
Clubhouse
because
expert.
I thought it was the same thing as well. I was like, why have they got rid of the invite button? You know what I mean? It's silly.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, country code top level domains, sausage rolls, how to
Yeah,
fix a tire, and
yeah,
how to run Clubhouse. You've got it all.
got to be done. It's a Monday, isn't it? I think.
Yep. I've got some Wales weather here today. We've got like 35-mile-an-hour winds and cold and
Wow.
rainy. So,
So I think we've pinched your weather. We got the sun out today.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for coming in for Monday Domains. Monday Domains is my weekly show I do here on Domain Club. We try to cover the news of the week, what's going on in domain name investing, domain name ownership, and the domain name industry. So hopefully, if you're listening to this live, part of the studio audience, thank you. I appreciate you. Um, appreciate you coming in each Monday for the last year. If you're listening to it on a replay, thank you for including us on your valuable time. Or if you're listening to the podcast, where people can listen to these shows now without even joining Clubhouse or having the app, they can just listen to the show directly. And on Monday Domains, I talk about really for three audiences. If you own a domain name, you're trying to do the best at managing your domain name. You don't want to lose your domain name. You might want to get some more domain names. I want to be able to provide a place for news and updates and even your questions. And then, secondly, if you're a domain name investor, from a hobbyist or a collector to a speculator to someone who's doing it full time or even a portfolio manager, try to bring you the news and tips and tricks that I've learned buying and selling domain names over the last 22 years. Actually, 2022, 23 years. Excuse me. And then for the domain name community and the domain name industry, if you're working at your company and you're trying to do business development or make your customer experience better, I'd like to help you do that. I'd like to provide a place for you to talk to other domain owners and investors. And we want to highlight innovative products and companies that are doing innovative things and let you get with our audience, you can get not only their first read on something that you're doing, some user experience, some tips, or you can test out different ideas. So, anyway, that's Monday Domains. It's the basic show we do each week. I also do an outbounding domains on Tuesdays and $1 million domains on Wednesdays, plus various pop up rooms. So that's my introduction. Please come up to the stage if you want to share or make any comments like Sam has. Sam, you've been with us on a lot of shows. I woke up this morning feeling like this time of year where crazily enough, we're almost to the end of the first quarter. We didn't have a names con this year to kind of give everybody a jump start, but really this is the time to be working your plan. And it's not close enough to the beginning of the year where you can say, well, I better get my act in order. It's not quite the summer when people go on vacation, and even though there's a lot of turmoil, don't you feel like this is a time where you really need to be working your plan, working your inventory?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always constantly looking at what domains I've got and reviewing what to buy and looking at other aspects of trying to bring in the revenue. Like I said to you, now I'm concentrating on traffic domains, and that's just a thing that I've got into because I know it can bring in consistent money per day.
Sorry about that. I couldn't get out of the chat. Okay, I got to be careful about going into the chat. I can't figure out how to get back. Well, that's what I came up with, and I think the biggest challenge, and I'm going to talk to domain investors now, or people trying to live the domain space, is how do you come into the day with a plan of what you want to do? And I kind of put my plans into two groups. One is, what are the things I should be doing every day to maintain my portfolio, to optimize um, the chances I have of getting not just a sale, but a successful sale, a sale at the price that I want or near the price that I want. Um, and I think those things would be adding new names that I purchased to my database, updating that I have all the name servers set to a landing page where that's still the most likely place people are going to go if they want to buy a domain name. It's kind of like driving by a house, and if you see a for sale sign in the front yard, you kind of know the house is for sale. Um, and if you don't, then you kind of feel like, well, I could still knock on the door and ask them if they want to sell it, but you feel like you have a lot more chance of success if there's a for sale page on your name, or, to use the metaphor, a house in front of the sign in front of the house. So I think that's it. And at the same point, some people may not know what they're looking for, and you want to make sure that you're using the marketplaces and the exchanges that if someone's looking for a domain name near what you have, that yours will be shown to them. So that's kind of what I call defense. Get your name server straight, make sure you know what you own, make sure you have your renewals done, make sure you've taken a look ahead at the next month to see what's coming up in your renewals. And the reason this is really important right now is we are coming up on the 1 year anniversary of the first real plunge into NFT and meta and metaverse names. And I think a lot of us, if you peek out at your March and April, you're going to see um, your first, at least for me, the first list where I had taken a bunch of keywords, combined them with meta or with NFT, or actually digital, I think was maybe the biggest word back then. And you're going to want to separate what this is under the topic of being a hand reg domainer. What over the past year has gone from being speculation to being worth money at wholesale? And I think there was that movie. I think it was called Swingers, about a group of young men in L.A. And the line that they would always say to each other is, "Oh, that's money. Oh man, you're money. Oh, that's money. That's money." And I think what you want to do if you're a hand registration domain investor is you want to determine what did you register last year that's money right now. You know you're going to renew it. You know it's got some wholesale value. You're trying to get the best price. And I think you want to make sure that you either auto renew or make sure you're going to renew those. Check your listings. I would renew those names on time so that you don't lose your listing at Afternic. If you don't renew your domain name at its expiration date, whether you're at GoDaddy or another registration, your listing at Afternic that's in what's called the fast transfer system, meaning it's being shown on the websites of multiple registrars. If you don't renew it at its expiration date, that listing will drop off. You'll think that thousands of people are seeing your name every day, but they won't be, because Afternic would have said this name reached its expiration date, it wasn't renewed. To protect their system, they're going to go ahead and take the name off. So you want to make sure on the names that you know are money, and I defined that a little earlier, that you renew them at their expiration date, even though you've got some grace period and your name servers may not change for a while. Um, so I think those are the things you want to do is peek out ahead. The other thing I peek out ahead over 30 days at is any big groups that I had done. Like I had registered about 60 names in a new TLD on a $2 special last year. And I'm just going to peek and get an idea that I've got 2 months to either sell those names, do something with them, sell them in bulk, or start thinking about what I want to do with those big groups. So anyway, that's defense. Then the next thing is offense. What things am I trying to do to sell more names right now, to market more names right now? And for me, that's really optimizing at the different marketplaces. And one of the things I've been terrible at is managing my names at Squad Help. And a lot of you have names at Squad Help, and Darpin was on the domain show when I did my live domain conference a year and a half ago. And I've got about 200 names there, but I probably get the messages that say my name was delisted, I didn't do my name servers, and I really don't know how many of my names are categorized. So that's kind of something that I want to do this month. So I want to put in some time to do what I call offense. What can I do besides buying more names? You can always buy more names to make money, right? You want to make more money in domain names? Buy more names. Your names aren't selling? Buy new names. You get some new money, go buy new names. If you need money, this is the great thing about domain names. People are like, man, I need to raise $1,000 for a project. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy more names because I know I can sell them and make $1,000 in the next month. So I'm going to skip over the fact that everyone's buying more names. But I think the other thing that you do to play offense is, optimize what you're doing. But now I'll get to the point of this whole session. I really want to see what other people's thoughts are, either in the chat or back channel. The biggest competitor you have to both keeping your portfolio updated and doing the offensive strategies to sell more names are the bright, shiny objects that you hear about that are going on out there in the domain market. And you're thinking, I better jump on those bright, shiny objects at the expense of my normal buying, at the expense of maintaining my portfolio, at the expense of doing offense, at the expense of everything. There's a bright, shiny object like a dog seeing a squirrel going, squirrel, and chasing it. And it can take up 15 minutes, an hour, a day, a week for you to dive into something with the perception that you missed out on a bunch of other stuff. This is going to be the thing you don't miss out on. This was made for you. It was everything you've done in domaining has brought you to this moment, and taking advantage of this one great thing is going to make your year. And I think that's the biggest thing we have to fight against, I think, because most of the time, I'm not saying, you need to take at least a look at them, but be careful that thinking that a new shiny object is going to make up for your prior work, the things you know you should do, things that take time and effort, because I believe time and effort get a reward. Um, and I'll tell you one of them that popped up this week, uh, just over the weekend, was Raymond Hackney posted on the domains. These are some amazing prices for .finance names. So someone on Twitter called Valencia's, and please understand, please take this in the fact that I'm trying to share with you that yes, it's good to look, but really, really be careful before you buy. So Valencia's reports that they sold the domain name Philadelphia.finance for $16.5 million, the highest selling non.com domain name in history. So obviously everybody came in there and said, "Oh, this isn't true. This isn't true. This isn't true." But then at the same point, someone goes out there and says, "Oh, I wonder if I should buy .finance names or names with the, in .finance." So I took a peek. You know what I mean? Again, I'm gonna try to stay on it, if not to buy names to a show. And here's what I found. So if you saw this thing and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, .finance could be me. I could be make a case for it." That yes, I would say there are very few .finance names that have sold, and they're some of the best keywords in crypto, like Dow.finance. Um, but in general, finance names have a renewal price of $70 a year. You can get them at GoDaddy for $42 a year. So we're not talking about a discount TLD. They have what's called tiered TLDs, meaning a lot of what you like is going to cost you 1,000 a year, or 2,000 a year, or 5,000 a year. And I looked up the top 1,000 English words in .finance, and I found out that about 70% of them were available. Now, a lot of these don't match finance, like them.finance or, things like that. But it's just the idea that no, I would say, in my opinion, there is not a huge groundswell of retail end users that are buying .finance names. But that doesn't mean that a small group of people can't try to buy some and publicize it, and that doesn't mean that domain investors can't buy 10 to 20 to 100 to 1,000 times what may ever be purchased by end users in .finance. So I think that was an example of the shiny object. Sam, you ever find yourself drawn to these shiny objects? I feel like if you're like me, you have to take a peek, but boy, they can really take away from your day and what you're trying to do. I think I lost Sam there. I don't have another cohort, but I think that it's okay to take a look. In my opinion, you already want to have your list made of the top words that you would want if a new TLD all of a sudden got some emphasis, real live emphasis. Like, but I think it takes time. I think if you would have tried to game .io, which is one of the most successful, new TLDs, or not new TLDs, but non.coms of the last 5 years. There are people who you've seen that have sold one word .ios that have held them for 8 to 10 years. I think there may have been a moment, in 2019 where you could have maybe been one of the few bidders on Park.io for the first couple months where you could have got things for what would now look like a bargain. But I think it's rare that these things happen overnight. I think when they do, it's because someone's hyping it. Like last year when we had the .live guy on from Donuts, and you're going to see a big bunch of people registering .lives, but there was never any follow through. There was never any follow through publicizing use cases. There was never any follow through with any promotions. There was never any follow through with building software that could showcase your .live. And the reason I know there wasn't is because I was hoping for it. I bought probably 20 .lives, and I thought, maybe Donuts will decide to market something. Maybe they won't just sit back and cash the checks from speculative registrations and trademark registrations. Maybe they'll actually market. But that was wishful thinking. And the reason I'm attuned to this is it's something I do every day with .la. We publicize every 2 weeks the companies that are using .la. We try to connect with any new websites using .la, and we follow them and we highlight them on our social media. We try to engage the community and ask them if there's anything we can do. If their companies have any type of specials, we can put it on our news feed. So those are the things that we're going to be doing this year for .la to build the community, because it takes time. But then after a while, people, as they think up new ideas, they start thinking about .la more and more because they've been successful with it. And I think that our market for .la is mostly local companies, restaurants, real estate developments, professional services, design agencies and things like that, because they can use .la to brand in LA, but then it works globally. But I don't see that work being done in a lot of other new TLDs, and I don't see it being done in this dot finance thing that just popped up. But I think it's an example of the shiny object that can take your time away from both what you need to do in domaining, the fact that you are going to be buying domains every day, and the fact that you should have some strategies to be doing better in domaining that take some time and effort. Um, so anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you about what I'm doing, and I try to do that each week. I wanted to go over some news of the week. Let's see, what is our news of the week? News of the week is Domain Name Wire. Let's see. Oops, that's the wrong Domain Name Wire. Hold on a second, having a little technical difficulties in my agenda. Okay, 2 weeks ago, I'm going to skip the news of the week. I'll do that at the end. 2 weeks ago, I talked about Sadu. So, one of the things for domain investors, so I'm going to speak to domain investors, collectors, anyone who owns a domain name and says, hey, I'd like to sell it. And I think there's a perception out there, as I listen to people come into different clubhouse rooms, that the most important thing about selling a domain name is when you, as the owner, decide that you want to sell it. And I think people feel like, I've had this name for a while and I was only going to sell it for $1 million, but now I've really decided that I want to sell it. And we don't have a perfect market for that to somehow have anything to do with whether you sell your name. If you just decide I'm willing to sell it, where do I go to sell it? You can go to places like Afternic and Sadu to sell your name, and you're going to put your name in there with 2 to 5 million other names, and it may sell. But there isn't really like a window at the casino where you just go in and cash your chips. Um, Getting out of a name, getting out of an illiquid asset that you wanted when you bought it, but the fact that you were able to buy it meant that no one else wanted it at that time for that price. And now you've decided to sell, is hard. And that's one of the reasons we can buy these assets that truly do have value for such a big discount. I mean, domain name investing is an amazing business. If you have capital and if you have patience, you can buy digital assets at 30 to 99% of the value that they may sell for. And the biggest skill that I think you need to have to be a domain name investor is money, is capital, and patience. Because you need to make sure you can buy better names. And to buy better names, you have to outbid other people. And then you have to make sure that you can wait to either be fortunate or lucky. And I don't think it matters. We see names sell every day for 10,000 and 5,000 and 2,000 and 60,000. And we think, oh, I have names that are just as good as those names. How come mine don't sell? There is a randomness and a luck involved in domain names. And even though I'd love to tell you that owning better names will produce better sales, and that's what I try to do, I'm not convinced that there isn't just a randomness to what sells. But anyway, capital and patience. You can buy names for a deep discount. But just saying that you want to sell your name, there's not a place to go. And I keep wanting there to be more places to go. I keep wanting there to be more innovation. Last year, from March to July on Clubhouse, with 5 auction platforms, we introduced the community here a whole new way to provide wholesale liquidity for domain names. And like a spinning top, we spun it up with the potential of what it could be. And for a lot of us, we were able to buy names we wanted and sell some of our names for a wholesale price, which provided liquidity. And this is the most important thing it provided, I think. It provided some wins, some hits, some success to make you feel like, hey, I did this for a reason. If you're only selling names at retail, you might only be selling 1 or 2 a month, or 1 a quarter, or 2 a year. And it's hard to remember if it's going to really be successful. So when we got the liquidity that came from wholesale selling to other domain investors and the extended community, that was what was really important. We got more volume. We got more action. We got more activity. And when that died out, we got left with the same places we've always had. And the reason places aren't ever going to help domain investors sell names at wholesale prices is because any marketplace out there is only focusing on whether they'll sell any name today. So their solution is to get more and more names. But the individual domain owner in a marketplace, you only care about selling your names. You want to sell your names, and you want to sell them at an advantage to everybody else. But the marketplace isn't going to help you. I'm not going to be able to go to Afternic and say, "Hey, can you can you uh, can you sell my names today and no one else's?" I mean, unless you work a back channel deal or pay them or get some leverage, you're not going to be able to do that. So the only thing I think you can do to sell more names is to make sure you've got them for sale everywhere you can, and that you know the rules of each and every marketplace to make sure all your names are sold there. So what I want to go over, this is a long introduction, is I ended up relisting all my names at Seidu in the past 2 weeks. And I talked a little bit about this 2 weeks ago, which is Seidu, SCDO.com, is a domain marketplace. It was one of the original domain marketplaces. It was running in 2000, 2001, 2002. I'm not sure when it started, but for me, it's always been there. And it was actually a graduate level paper that students in Germany had written about providing a marketplace for domain names, and they turned it into a company. And it used to be you could go there and you could search for domain names by keyword and things like that. And I hate it that their search functionality is literally the same as it was 20 years ago. But they also had, even before Afternic, this idea of a MLS, or the fact that they would have their whole list available to certain registrars. If somebody went to a registrar to find a domain name and they type in a name that you own, it'll say this name is for sale for $3,000. Or if they type in a name that's taken, it'll say, here's some other options. And just like most of you are familiar with Afternic having DLS and DLS partners, Seidu also has their list of names with partners. Sometimes those partners are the same. Some registrars will list all of Afternic's inventory and all of Seidu's inventory. Sometimes they'll list one or the other. And many times, what I found is they'll have different rules about one or the other. And then if you combine that with having to abide by the rules of Sado and Afternic, I really think it takes effort to list your names correctly. And Sado really doesn't help, in my opinion, because they have an automated service where you upload your names, but they've also tried to automate the verification process where you have to put a text record on your name. And most of us that have our names like at Dan, we can add text records. Now, I was happy to see that Dan is saying, I think it was Dan is saying that they're going to try to add that, maybe it was FD. One of the two said that they're trying to add that. And I think it was Dan that said they're trying to add that if you have your name servers set um, to Dan, that you'll be able to add text records. But anyway, the verification process is important. The easiest way to get a name at Sadhu is to change the name servers to NS1 dot, I think it's ns1 sadhuparking.com, Sadhu Parking, and then list it, and it'll get accepted. So what I've done over the past couple of weeks is I've taken all the names I have at registrars that are what's called Sadhu partners, and that's Sav and Name Silo and Name Cheap and Dynadot. And what you need to do is you need to, have a list of, like, this is what I did. I took all my names at Dynadot and I went into Sadhu, and it's really complicated. You have to click domain, and you have to click sort by group, and then you have to click create a group, and then you have to put your list of names in. So how does that sound for simple and intuitive? Anyway, they're German, I guess. So you put your list of names in, and then you can see how many of them are accurately listed on the Sadhu MLS platform. And they'll either show you that they're listed there, or they'll show you why they're not. Sorry about that. Sometimes they're not because you've got an email that says go to Dynadot, and you need to click on those names, and you need to do something called set afternick. And I'm sorry, set Sadhu. And once you do that, you'll see a little button on your Dynadot account screen saying which of your names are set up at Sadhu. And so this isn't a tutorial that I'm doing on Monday Domains here. I'm just telling you what's possible, because you're not going to want to put in the effort unless you know something's possible and what it's going to be and what it's going to do for you. For me, I had my biggest sale last year on the Sadhu MLS system. They sold a name for $30,000 for me because I had it listed there. I had it listed on the MLS. And as much as I think their systems are hard to work with, I can't knock the fact that in the last year I had my biggest sale there. And in my lifetime, I had $1 million buy it now sale from Sadhu. So I had to sit there and say, even though it's confusing, even though it's frustrating, I've got to put my names on that platform because it's worked. So anyway, so what I've been doing is I've been going registrar by registrar, clicking the names. The ones that aren't Sadhu MLS, you click set Sadhu MLS. Then they send you a message. Then you get a message from Name Silo or Sav, however you want to say it, or Namecheap to approve them. And then at least every day when you wake up and you wonder, did I sell a name last night? Or when you look back at a month and say, I needed to sell 3 names this month to make my goals. That's all I need to do. I need to do about 5 names a month at $3,000 a name to reach my goals. So there's 30 days in a month, and I need to sell 5 names, which means I can go 6 days without selling a name, and I might still be okay. But wouldn't I rather know that every day when I woke up, that for the last 24 hours, at least most of my names had a chance of selling every way that's possible to sell a name. And that's why I've shared with you guys so much on Monday Domains about all the different marketplaces and all the different places, is because I think, yeah, it's effort. But again, you may have to put in 6 hours of effort to get all your names listed at Sadhu. But if that produced 2 sales in the next year, would you do it? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts in the chat or the back channel or come up on stage. So anyway, so that's an example of something I'm doing that's a strategy that's going to take me all week. And most of the time I found I've got to do that work early in the morning. Because once we get to 10 o'clock, we got GoDaddy auctions, we got other registrars auctions, we got bidding, we have news. I do these type of shows. Hopefully you're getting some inquiries. Maybe you're even picking up the phone and calling people, to buy your names. But I just think that I wanted to at least paint a picture of what listing at Sadhu MLS can be. And and it's not easy, but I think it's worth it. I think, if you have more than, say, 50 names or 100 names, you should have them listed there. You should have them for sale because they have been around for a while, and the perception used to be that in Europe people use Say-Do a lot, and I think that may be true. And people may buy domain names every 5 or 6 years. Hold on a second. So it may have been 5 or 6 years since a company's bought a premium domain name, 5, 10, 20, 30,000. And they may remember that the last time they did it, they went to Say-Do. So I think that's the way to do it. The other thing that differentiates Say-Do from Afternic is if you have your landing pages with Say-Do, you can earn parking revenue from them. So you can both list your name for sale and earn parking revenue from one company. Afternic is kind of weird because you're using Afternic parking, but it's really smart name. But it's anyway, they just don't care about it. So, but the second thing is it does give some people at Say-Do when they look at your name, they can see the stats, at least of the number of visitors to the website. So if you have a name that does have a lot of traffic, there may be people looking on Say-Do and sorting by traffic. Again, it's not going to tell them if it's good traffic, bad traffic, whatever, but at least it's gonna put that on there. But the most important difference between Say-Do and Afternic is for someone to buy a name from you, they have to make an offer or they can accept your buy it now. They have to set up a Say-Do account to make you an offer, but they don't necessarily have to tell you who they are. They don't have to send you an email that has their email address. They don't have to send it from an IP where you're going to want to get their IP information and find out if they're a big company. And these are all tactics and tricks that people will use to try to, get the highest price. But sometimes, and I don't think the buyers really know this, but it is a difference, is that they have to open up a Say-Do account. They have to give Say-Do their information. But when you get the offer, the only thing you can find out is what country they're from and whether they've been a member of Say-Do since a certain year. And so there is some distance that they can create to negotiate about the name. Um, so anyway, so that's one of the things I'm doing that is not keeping up on my portfolio. It's kind of a offense strategy I'm doing that's going to take me a couple weeks, but I try to do it every day, and I find myself needing to do it in the mornings every day, um, so that I get at least some of it done by the time the day starts. Let's see what else we have going on. Anybody have any questions or anything about what I've shared? Let me look in the chat. There we go. Thanks, Mike, for your tip. So there is a little thing now on the bottom left where you can chat, which means you're not sending me a direct message. You can say something to everybody in the room. I do want to limit, and I will turn off the chat if it becomes a, hey, I have this name for sale. Hey, I have this name for sale. Hey, I have this name for sale. So this won't be the place to do that. I think there's going to be a lot of rooms where that will become a part of what they do. And I know that DJ's running some rooms over the weekend with auctions where he did a great job. And I think the chat feature is going to help. I think Clubhouse has gotten better in the past year, and there's less people in the domain space using it. So we'll try to play a role in bringing more people back to Clubhouse because there are some valuable tools. The fact that you can listen to replays, the fact that you can use the chat, the fact that you can direct message people, the fact that you can clip different parts of shows and publicize them. I think that makes a big difference. All righty, I'll move on to some other news of the week. Let's see. Deals, deals, deals. Who doesn't like a good deal? Who doesn't like a good promo? So I got Pork Bun's email, and they are a Say-Do partner too. I got my Pork Bun email, and it's funny. They're just different in a good way. You know, uh, their tagline is an oddly satisfying experience. So now their newsletter says Pork Bun Unwrapped, an oddly satisfying newsletter. So anyway, here's their March specials. You've got .art for $2.87. And .art, I don't think it's past the time when it became the hot, and I'm not going to say pump and dump because I think it was truly being used by NFT people to maybe be the alternate TLD for their projects. When someone comes up with a new idea and they need a domain name, they have two choices. Three choices. They can pay up for a .com, they can buy a longer .com for reg fee, or they can buy a new TLD. And I think for a lot of people, getting the exact words they want, the exact words in their project in a new TLD seems to be the choice that a lot of people are making when it comes to hand registrations. I don't know if they're necessarily making that choice when it comes to buying premium names from domain investors. But when it comes to hand registrations, I think there's something about the fact that people still want to be the registrant, the original registrant of a domain name. They don't want to buy a quote used domain name. So I think there's a difference when I look at new TLDs of what people are doing in the primary registration market of buying them for the first time versus whether that's transferring over to resales. But anyway, Art had some time where it had a lot of NFT projects. So I think it's both a huge industry and it's got some trendiness. Anyway, $2.87 if your name is not in a premium tier. Now the registries, excuse me, have gotten really good at taking all the possible names and making sure that anything that's registered in 200 or more extensions, that's a first name, that's a city, that's a 3 letter, that's a 4 letter, that's a 3 number. They've done a good job of putting everything that they think would be of value in these premium tiers where you have to pay 50, 100, 300, 500, and maybe you have to pay that much each year. But if it's not in those tiers, then you can get it at least a pork bun for $2.87. And what's great about that is I don't think many of these registries um, are completely up to date on current trends and things like that. Like for my work at .la, I've got to stay up to date. Last year I did not get some of the key words that I should have for the registry. Um, and so other people were able to register them fast enough. They knew about those trends before I did. So I think that there is a time when if you do see a new trend, if you do see a new trend that's investable, if you do see a new trend that's investable so much that the .art would have value, then the last thing you want to do is at least get that for the cheapest price. And even though at Pork Bun you may not be able to be a GoDaddy, which you want to be a GoDaddy, and everybody wants to be a GoDaddy, Pork Bun is a terrific company. They have a good interface, good bulk management. They run the company with a lot of integrity. I think they'll offer you deals. So anyway, .art 287 at Pork Bun. .autos $1.50. .autos is probably one of the weakest TLDs out there, but hey, if you have a use that has to do with autos, $1.50. Clubs, they have $1.98. SBS, which is part of the of Kevin Copus's group, is $1.10. And .me is $2.98. They have XYZs for the 98 cents. .shop is $2.04. Now, the renewal for .shop is $25 a year, but first year only is $2. So if you want a deal, you want a speculation. Anyway, if you go to Pork Bun and you hit their column for deals, they'll have all the TLDs that they have deals on. And I think it's worth it if you're reaching out in a new TLD that you think will be popular sometime, or you have a keyword you want to buy, why not get it for the lowest price? And Pork Bun is usually at least as low as anyone else. I think Domain Cost Club is my go-to place for the lowest price. But I'm looking here at .ones for $1.53, .fyis for $4, .fitness for $4, .vip for $4. Again, I'm not saying all these are valuable. There was huge numbers of new TLDs. There was so many of them that you're going to buy something and you're going to think, oh my gosh, someone will buy it from me, and they probably won't, but they might. But anyway, at least you can get them for a good price. Dynadot came out with their specials. Let's see. Let me search here. Let's see. They do have a transfer special for COM that I think is, let me see here. Transfer sales. Well, they don't have it on there. Anyway, if you don't get the Dynadot newsletter, I would get it. Let me look for it. Let's see. I'll try to get back to you with that by the end of the show. Some other news of the week in the time that we have left is Andrew Alleman at Domain Name Wire. He had an interesting post. ICANN and the global public interest. So the ICANN meetings, which is the governing board of the internet, is meeting this week, and I'm negative on ICANN because I just think that they missed their potential, and they're going to miss their potential again this week because they're trying to define what does it really mean to act in the global public interest. And of course, this is one of their jobs. They're supposed to maintain, the technical standards of running the internet, and then foster competition and consumer choice. And all these things compete for resources and attention. So somehow they're looking to define global public interest. So if you want to have a say in what ICANN does, you can join the public meeting this week at icann.org, and you can participate and you can speak in the open public sessions, and make your voice known, whether it's on legal matters, whether it's on registrar matters, on any topic. It's supposed to be an open and transparent group, and sometimes you have to maneuver through a lot of hoops. But if you want to get your voice heard, I would go and participate, and you can participate virtually in the ICANN meeting. This is called ICANN 73. Um, let's see, it's going to be held virtually 7th through the 10th. And the thing that you want to look at is, again, icann.org, and then look for ICANN 73. And you want to look for the times when you can contribute public opinion. Second thing you can do is you can see the different working groups and constituency meetings that ICANN uses. So if you can imagine, like, the Congress has the whole Congress and the whole Senate, and then they have committees, and then they have committee groups. ICANN has the same thing. So if you want to help and play a part in ICANN's governance of the internet, you can start by joining these different constituencies. Some of them you have to be a registrar to be in the registrar constituency. You have to be a registree to be in the registree constituency. But then they have some like the business constituency, or they have the nonprofit or non commercial constituency. And so I think you can start to see what this group is. And domainers and domain investors and just regular domain owners have been underrepresented in ICANN. Who's been overrepresented have been the legal representatives of big companies, because their companies are paying them to go to ICANN meetings. They can pay these people to go to Kenya or Auckland, New Zealand, or London, and they can pay them to go to these meetings and be there when the policies are set. So, what hasn't happened is there haven't been a lot of just independent domain owners who have shown up to be in these meetings, because you used to have to be there live. But now, hopefully, they have virtual participation. And it is going to become easier for regular, everyday domain owners to be in these different groups. And when ICANN says we make our decisions based upon a bottom up consensus process, there is room there for domain owners and domain investors to be in that consensus process. It's not going to be easy. They're not going to be waiting there holding the door open for you and saying, come in and tell us what real people think. But I think if you want to do it, this is the exact time you can, which is the ICANN 73 global meeting. So the last thing I wanted to mention, if you're going to NamesCon in August or September, late August, September, they did come out with a hotel special. So before, to stay at the Omni, which does make it pretty convenient to be at the hotel where the different seminars are. They came out with a special for the days of the show, and you don't have to put up all your money up front. You can put a one night deposit, but I think it's worth it if you think you're going to be, participating. Um, and you don't want to stay away from the venue. Now, having said that, I stayed away from the main venue last year, and I didn't feel that it cost me anything in terms of access or experience. NamesCon is gotten cheaper over the years. They don't have as many night events. They don't have as many meals at all anymore. Um, so the days when you could kind of go from morning till night in one place, that really doesn't exist as much anymore. So you can be off site, and there's a chance that you're going to be, taking an Uber to the dinner invitation that you got from one of the registries or the registrars, and you may have breakfast with other people that are staying where you're staying. And so I think you don't have to stay at the venue, but if you are, you might as well get a room early and save a little money. So that came out this week. Let's see. Another thing, I got a renewal bill for my handshake, not my handshake. I own a name in .c, which is one of these alternate extensions. So I got my renewal bill for $20 a year. And it's interesting because whoever owns .c, I don't think they have to pay a renewal that's too high to own the entire .c. But if you own a subdomain in .c, you do have to pay your renewal. Now, I also run .nom, so I'm hoping that people will pay me their renewals. But I just thought that was interesting. So if someone says, "Oh, these new TLDs are great, you don't have to pay renewals," that's true if you just treat your new handshake TLD as like .page, and you're just going to run .page like a website. But if you're going to have people sign up to, and you're going to use the name based system to do it, then your registrants will have renewals unless you can figure out a way to run it for free. And let's see, I don't want to go and finish the show, which I'll do here in a second, without mentioning so much of the domain name family, entire world is thinking of the situation in Ukraine. And I think for those of you that deal with Namecheap and some of the other companies in the space, you're connected to these real people who are going through, a terrible time. And I just want to say my heart goes out to them. I do think prayers are valuable, so I do pray for the people of Ukraine. And there also are some fundraising initiatives being taken. I know Richard Kirkendall at Namecheap is supporting some, and I would say that those would be trusted ways to help people in Ukraine. There's a club supporter, um, Vladislav. He has something on Go Send Give Send Go for Ukraine, and if you want that link, just back channel me and I'll send it to you. Um, but they've raised over 100,000 in their first 3 days last week, which was March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Anyway, that is all I have for everyone today. If you have any questions, maybe I'll do a couple quick appraisals or a couple what do I think about. But if not, happy domaining out there today. I am in my bind trying to practice happy domaining. Let me see. Thank you for the nice messages. Uh, let's see. It's so hard to tell if you're sending me a message for the first time. Definitely put in a domain question because it helps me differentiate you from a lot of people that just say hello, and I can't tell if they're trying to just connect with me for nefarious means on Clubhouse. Let me get back to the room here. Hey Courtney, how you doing? Are you doing any happy domaining today?
Not much. I'm out early in the morning showing homes right now and listening to you guys in the background like talk radio.
There you go. Well, hopefully.
But I do have a
Yep.
question for
Yep.
you. What do you think about the name? It's a .net. So silverrings.net. What would you value something like that wholesale?
Silverrings.net. I'm hoping if I keep repeating it, something will come up. But I don't know, like Braden Pollock would always say, I don't know if it's a thing. Like, obviously, functionally, a ring made out of silver
Yep.
is obviously something. But is silver rings a thing where someone would say, oh man, you got to make sure you get a silver ring? Or, hey, do you have any silver rings? Or, hey, what, we're a silver ring shop. We specialize in silver rings. And I don't know of that. So I would probably literally say like $30 wholesale, and then if retail, $29.99, because if someone was in that business and they are the world's leader in silver rings and they contacted you, then you wouldn't want to have a price and you'd want to get 10,000 for it. And even though it's the .net, if the .com isn't being used or is being used for some different reason, um, then that would help you. If there was already a jewelry site on silver rings, um, then I don't know about it. And then lastly, maybe someone will come up with the crypto. We used to have these things called web rings where you had like a group of 20 or 30 sites that would be like a ring, you know what I mean, where you go from one site to another to another. So you maybe you could get an alternate meeting, but right now I'm probably not a big fan.
Bingo, bingo. Yeah. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah. I think .nets could have their time in the sun still, because if you take them down to zero and then you compare them against all the other new TLDs, I think they've still got a lot of value and traction.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
but people that have been holding them for 20 years are certainly going to usually hold them for 21. Um, I have a lot of geo.nets and I probably sell about 4 a year. Um, so that's just an area that I stay with. It's kind of one of my bread and butters. Um, and we'll see. But .org's probably past .net by a factor of two. I'd say .orgs are probably twice .net, especially if they're something that appeals to org.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Court.
great. No, I appreciate that, Hal. Or Paige. I get you guys mixed
Good
up.
luck in the real world where people spend $1.5 million like it's nothing, because
Oh man.
it's only 30,000 down and 2,100 a month for the next 30 years. Boom, million and a
Yeah.
half.
It is crazy. This is a crazy time. I got more buyers than than there's houses on the market for what they're looking for. You know what I mean? It's a weird time. It's very strange.
Yeah, I'm a buyer right now, and so I'm trying to buy in our little small town, and we've seen our prices double. And I even started doing these offers that are called top every offer. My offer was top every offer up to this price. And I still didn't get it. So they got me, and I'll just borrow Courtney's expertise. They got me the we're looking for an offer that doesn't require us to do an inspection.
Yep. Inspection waiver.
And then you hate it because it means, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with the house.
Not all the time though, but I mean, and that doesn't mean you can't
Yeah,
get a home inspection. It just means
right.
that you can't go back and ask them for shit.
Yeah. So it's well, maybe one day domains will be like that. We'll have, you'll put a name up for sale and you'll get a bunch of offers, and then you'll send them all back something that says last and final offers for my name, silverrings.net, due by Friday 5 p.m. Um, it could happen. There's a lot of people in the world, and there's very few good domains. So
Agreed.
anyway, thanks, Court.
Agreed. Hey, thank you.
So the reason I wanted to bring up the word happy domaining, and I'll close with this, is for me, if you got big renewals, sales haven't been what they thought, you're wondering whether you should have gotten into this business in the first place. So I'm talking more to investors right now, but also collectors. Happy domaining for me is only pay a price that I'd be happy for. Now, when you're scaling up in domains and you're committing new money, you got a new credit card with a $15,000 limit, man, it's buy, baby, buy. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I can make money on that. I can make money on that. I'm not going to lose on that. For sure, I can sell that for what I bought it for. And I think that's one, that's a place that we have a lot of bidders on GoDaddy auctions at right now, where they're scaling up. They're actually thinking that it's scarce to get an expired domain name for a good price, and they're scaling up. But when you're kind of in the middle of paying renewals, seeing your realistic sales maybe not be what you thought, I kind of go back to happy domaining. And what that basically says is I'll bid a price for a name that if I get it, I'm not just going to be like, okay, good, I got something. I'm going to be happy. So maybe before I would have bid $69 to get a name on a drop. And now I'm just going to bid 20 at Dynadot. And if I get it, I'll get it for 20 and I'll be happy. And if I don't get it, yeah, I lost a chance to make money with that name, but I didn't lose any money. And so the only thing I'm going to buy this week are when I'm really happy. You know, put out low ball offers. Um, have your last bid price that you want to bid be one and done. Just put in there. If I get that name for $150, I'll take it. Put in your $150 bid. If you get outbid, no problem. And if you get it, make sure it's a price where you're not just going to be like, okay, I got that one. But you're going to be like, yeah, I got that one. I bought it for, below what I wanted to. So when I do get to where I'm working on my portfolio, I'm doing a lot of things, I kind of take a step back and I do what I call happy domaining, which is I cut the price almost in half of what I'm paying for things. And if I still get something, I won't be getting, like, if you put in 20 names on the drop today that you'll pay $25 for, chances are you're going to get the 3 weakest names out of your group, or the names that maybe, for better or for worse, you saw value in and no one else did. Now, that still could be good for you. But a lot of times that name isn't going to have a lot of wholesale value because no one else wanted it when it dropped. So I would say wait, let the drop happen. Go after those 20 names at reg fee after the drop happens. Because if you get one or two of them, again, you're going to be happy. So good luck out there this week on happy domaining. I'll see everyone tomorrow. If you've got a room going on Clubhouse this week and you want to tell everybody about it, hop up on stage. If you have a new product or service you want to tell everybody about, let me know, or let me know early for next week, and I'll have you pop up. Let's see. I'll give everybody a chance to pop up. Respond to an email here. But anyway, thank you, everybody. You can hit Domain Club to watch replays of our other shows during the week. I also do a show on Wednesday afternoons or Wednesday evenings, 6 o'clock Eastern, called The Name Game on Startup Club, where it's really been fun to hear companies. They come up on stage and they tell us the name of their company and their domain name. And then we tell them, just some constructive help about their brand, whether we like it. But first, we try to guess what their company does based upon their domain name. And I've really learned a lot about the decisions that startup founders are making when getting their domain names. And what I've learned is that I think they're stretching to get a hand registration name for registration fee. They're stretching really far away from their ultimate names, having dashes and 3 words and misspelling or brandable spellings or changing letters or having things in the reverse order because they think that's the best they can get. And so if you're out there talking to people about domain names, I think one of the things as an industry that we can do a lot better job of telling people is that if people will just move from $8 to 500 or $8 to $1,000, they can increase the quality of the name that they get by a factor of 10 or 100. And I know most people are going to be like, give me the best I can get for 8, but or 9 now. But I think that's one thing that we could all benefit from getting more and more people to know. So thanks everybody for being at Monday Domaining, and I'll see you out there on Clubhouse this week. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Courtney.
Cheers, Paige.